Welcome to The Green Light. I'm your host, Shayla Nice, and I'm so grateful you've taken the time to listen to our Green Light conversation. On today's episode, I'm always fascinated to learn about a person's introduction into the music industry and hearing about their highs and lows as a performer. So it's only right that my guest is Somalia, who's the true definition of a go-getter and shines so brightly on stage. Somalia is an emerging R&B singer-songwriter, and her recently released project called Party of One is available to stream on all major platforms. So let's get into it. Just jump right into it and find out, how did you get your start into singing?
Yes, so I started actually dancing and acting before I started singing. I did not think I could sing. It actually was my grandmother who was like, she has a voice. And everybody was like, I don't know. But she put me in the studio. I recorded my first song when I was in middle school, and I was already writing. I was pretty much doing poetry, which is, another form of songwriting and stuff. So yeah, since I recorded my first song in middle school, from then on, I just kept doing it. I kept doing chorus. I was doing just auditioning, pretty much anything that I could get my hands on with music and performing arts, and just kind of just kept going, releasing music and performing, doing as many talent shows as I could do, and until I got to a place of where I started to discover my sound and kind of my voice.
Right. So what made you, when was the shift for you to take it seriously and want to pursue it professionally?
I think I honestly knew that I was going to do music. I would probably say like 10th grade. I was like, okay. So
Mhm.
like as a child, I actually wanted to be an ice skater. I actually told my
Wow.
mom this. Like she was like, "Oh my gosh." I was like, "Yeah, I was interested in ice skating." But I think that like high school, once I started like doing these shows and stuff, and like people were really like, no, this is what you do. Like I feel like some people are really into sports, or they're into,
Mm-hmm.
like beauty stuff, just like as a
Yeah.
growing woman, a girl. And I was like, I love all those things, but like this is where I shine. This is where like I come to life. And so I feel like high school is when I was like, yeah, this is what I'm gonna do. So
That's amazing. And then for you to know it so early on, especially with high school, because I feel like that age, we really don't know what we want to do. We just really just here for the vibes and just, trying to make
the
it through.
popularity, exactly,
Exactly.
exactly, yeah. And
That's
I would say I went through some of those kind of phases too, of like, again, like I was dancing and acting and doing other stuff, and I had this very strong phase of my life where I was very much so into band dancing and majorette, and that was
yeah.
everything. And then, but that's how I knew the shift, because I was like, when I was going to college, I was like, okay, do you want to keep doing that, or do you want to focus on? And I was like, nah, I actually just want to focus on being an artist. So I stopped doing those things. So
Exactly. And so speaking of college, you went to the illustrious Spelman College. I wanted
yes.
to know, what was your actual major, and do you feel like your degree has helped your musical pursuits?
Yes, so my degree is actually in women's studies, comparative women's studies, and I did a self-design major. So my focus was in Black women entertainers in the media and the arts
Wow.
and music. So my degree consisted of me taking just as many performing arts, music business stuff that I could. A lot of them were women focused. So there was, at Spelman, there's women in music, women in theater and drama. So I was able to really like get a nice cultivation, I would say, of the arts, but also very much so like consciously, what does it mean to be a Black woman in media, in music, in entertainment? And so I feel like that kind of gave me my foundation, my
Mm-hmm.
groundedness, because I think that, we love, as artists and like creatives, we love doing just the pure art of it, and we
Yeah.
don't really think about all of the other things that come with it. And I think that that gave me like the rooting and the grounding to know who I was before I went out into music in the entertainment world. So when I think about my degree, like I don't necessarily think specifically about women's studies. However, there were a lot of components in women's studies that I think prepared me for, the job market, even while, because while doing, I've always said I never want to be a starving artist. Like, I'm very
Mm,
much so here for work your job, do what you need to do because music costs, you're funding your dream costs. So you need to do like
yeah.
what you need to do in order to keep it going. So my degree gave me the foundation to be able to make my money and live my life while I'm also pursuing my dreams. So I feel like it all funnels in. Like anytime people are
Yeah.
like, as artists, like, oh, do I need to go to college? Like there's not necessarily like a need to go, but it's absolutely like a help and a cushion for real life, that you're going to be
Yeah.
experiencing while you're trying to chase your dream.
Absolutely, and that's beautiful. You've been able to find like that type of like foundation with your degree and your education, as well as pursuing this whole new world of music and being an artist. And I definitely feel like Atlanta is like the mecca for like the Black creative. There's always something going on. So like at your time at Spelman, did you find a lot of like performance opportunities while you were studying, or like what was the scene like as a up and coming artist?
Yeah, so I feel like specifically at Spelman, when I came in, there was actually almost this renaissance in a way
Mm-hmm.
of like, so for example, a lot of people that go there are going for psychology, they're going for STEM, they're
Yeah.
going for, a lot of other things. And so when I was coming in, there was actually like a plethora of artists and singers and writers and composers and people
Mm-hmm.
that were coming in. So I remember my freshman year, it was either my freshman year or my sophomore year, they had like an arts and entertainment summit at the school. And that was the first one that they had ever had. And so I think when I was there, I was seeing like the areas that where there could be improvement, but was
Yeah.
also very forward in voicing those things and being on the forefront of those things. And like, people from my class were creating organizations, like the Spelman College Women in Hip Hop Collective. They were doing things
Ooh.
to like put things in place to allow other women to know that you can do these things and come to this institution. So I feel like there was definitely a lot of opportunities that were coming through. I definitely met quite a Jada Pinkett Smith, um,
Nice.
Kenny Leon,
Mm-hmm.
so many like people that came through and were just speaking to artists and speaking to, um, you know, the the students about how to get into this thing, how to be smart about yourself as an artist, and also just like thinking about yourself constantly as a business and not just a singer, a dancer, a rapper, but like how you can really cultivate yourself as a career and as a brand. So
Absolutely. That's amazing. I will say, like, I didn't attend Spelman, but there have been a number of times I have been on the campus for like a good conversation that I saw on social
yes,
media. And I really would say, like, it definitely, like, I feel like, from the outside looking in, Spelman really fosters the talent that people have, from within, and really like pushes you to, really take a chance and a leap of faith. And so that's beautiful that you are the perfect example of what being poured into can manifest into.
yes, and shout out to the women's studies department because they booked me a couple of times
Oh,
when your
nice.
girl was like, I need very much so will support. And I think that that's one of the biggest things about Spelman. The support system is so strong. You don't even have to know the Spelman sisters. As soon as y'all say y'all went to Spelman, it's just an instant connection. So that's something that I'm like very eternally grateful for. And I think that it definitely takes you like a very long way. So,
Yeah, that's amazing. So, at the core of the podcast, the purpose of it is to really get the behind the scenes look at a creative. And so, from an artist standpoint, I'm curious to know. You spoke about it a little bit about having that foundation, and you are definitely in favor of like working the 9 to 5 to support your dreams. So, like, how has your experience been? Working professionally and corporate setting, or just having a career while managing your own career, your artist career.
yes. So I feel like it's definitely been like a push and pull. It took me a minute to get to a place, a workplace that felt like safe to be
Yeah.
myself and to be able to like say like yes, I am doing shows, but I'm also this. I'm also able to be an admin. I'm also able to work on grant management, and all of these things. And I think it took a lot of like internal work as well, like to
Mhm.
have the confidence to say, like, well, if they don't understand or they don't get it, then we're going to have to look for somewhere where they do get it, and be
Yeah.
able to know. And I think that that's where probably where the degree also comes in, and being able to kind of lean back on that to get, higher paying jobs, to be able to get what you, because again, these things cost. So I think that, I definitely had some workplaces where it made sense and some places where it
Yeah.
didn't. And you would be surprised. Like, I've worked a lot of different jobs, but most of my jobs have been in like the arts, nonprofit space.
Mhm.
And though you may be working in that space, it's like, because of resources and, a lot of nonprofits are like, understaffed, like a lot of the times they don't want you to do a lot of other things because they need your attention. They need all of
Yeah.
your time to be cultivated, like with these organizations. And I think I just had to figure out in each workspace, like, what can I take away from this? What can I learn? And I think that with all of the places that I worked at, whether it was learning about, when I was doing grants management, I learned how to put together my own tour. When I was giving
Mm.
grants to artists to, put together their tours, I was looking at how they were searching venues, how they were putting together, negotiation and price sheets, and how, all of the things that they were doing. And I was talking
Yeah.
them through, I was talking myself through it, which helped me to be able to put together my own tour. And other things, like just on the scale of like, artist entrepreneurship. At one point, I was working for an organization, and there were classes about like business strategy and marketing strategy. And while I'm there, preparing the materials for the class, for the students,
Mhm.
I'm looking through too, like, oh, okay, that's interesting. Like, you got to be able to
You
like
do.
look
Yeah.
at where you're at and pull things from it, because there's always something that you can take from a situation. I don't care if you at Starbucks, I don't care where you're at. There's always something that you can pull
Yeah.
that has to do with, entertainment or wherever you're at, and working your dream. And if it's not, put yourself in the environment to be able to meet those people. Go out, work at the coffee shop, do whatever you need to do to be able to get yourself around the people that you feel like, could help you at least be in the mindset or be in that space, to help you get
Right.
out of that. Because I definitely understand the feeling of, being in a workplace and you're like, this has nothing to do with what I'm trying to do. But I promise you, there's always something that you can take from it. So that's kind of the mindset and the mentality that I go into my workspaces with. That there's something I'm going to be able to take from this. And, it may not last forever. It may last forever, because I love where I'm at now.
Yeah.
Um, but it took time to definitely have the mindset and to cultivate, the type of entrepreneur I wanted to be. So
That's beautiful, and that's good, and it's good that you do have that mentality to like take these nuggets any way you can get them, because I feel like a lot of people may miss the business side of the music industry because they're so focused on the song going live and the streams and the numbers and like the
the
out,
TikToks and the
yeah,
algorithms, yes, very much
and
so.
going viral, but that's only like a small part to like the overall image and like your goal as like an artist, I feel. So yeah.
100%. And I still have to remind myself of that, like, of being self-managed, because it's like you do care about the numbers, but at the same time, it's like until you get to that space where those things really do matter, it's like
Yeah.
let's focus on the things that we can control right now. Let's focus on, how well we're practicing singing, because talent
Yeah.
can only take you so far. Like, let's focus on, cultivating relationships. Let's get out. Let's collaborate with other artists. Let's think about other avenues of revenue. Like, there's other things that you can be thinking about besides just social media, and how you can be, pushing it as hard as you can. Social media is very important.
It is.
Definitely not glossing over that, but there's other things as an entrepreneur and thinking about yourself as a business that you could be focused on as well.
Exactly. Now, to the straight to your music because it's so fire. I definitely will bring up your newest album, but I want to talk about some of your musical influences and inspirations. So I feel like I get Jill Scott, Brandy, Solange. I get those type of feels when I think of your voice, and I wanted to know like are there, like the people that I named, or if there's any more artists, like what do you learn from them that you take on as a artist and performer yourself?
Yes. So, there's I have so many influences, but I will say that I really care about the heart of the
Mm,
artist. I
yeah.
care about and not to say that it's like just about the person necessarily, but like how they put their heart into their art and what they
Hmm.
do. And I think that exactly the artists that you name, like Jill Scott, Brandy, Solange. Oh yes, Solange definitely puts her heart into it. And there's other artists even out now like Lucky Day and Alex
Yeah.
Isley, Cleo Soul. These are just a lot of the people I've been listening to. Even Brent Fayez. Like I feel like they put their personalities into it. They put their feelings into it. Their thoughts. They don't really, they're not too concerned with this might be like a opinion that nobody cares about. Like they
Yeah.
put their heart into it, and I think that that's the music that connects with me the most, and those are the artists that connect with me the most. So those are the things that I hold near and dear to me when I'm in my songwriting process, like you know kind of not having that filter. And it's hard sometimes, especially as like I think coming into my womanhood, there were things I was like, oh, can I say this? Like my parents gonna hear this, or can I say this? Like my friends are gonna hear this. They might know this is about them, or whoever.
It
And I think I was like, but this is my truth. This is my heart.
is.
This is where I'm at. This is how I feel. And I think a lot of the artists that really moved me and inspired me do that. Anita Baker does that. Like
Yes.
Toni Braxton does that. And I think that those that's just what I remind myself of when I'm writing music and I'm creating new things and putting things out. Like, is this my heart? Is this where I'm at? Is this where I feel what I feel? So
Yeah. So with your newest album, Party of One, what can you talk about, like the headspace you were in when you were creating this body of work, and kind of like the sound you wanted to create with the record?
yes, so I was very much so in a transitionary period. I had gotten laid off from my job, and but at the same time, it was like an opportunity to either keep going with just doing music full time or go and find another job. And I was like, I feel like I'm on a lonely boat right now. And like,
Mm-hmm.
though I was, in a relationship at the time, and shout out to him because he definitely helped with that balance of saying like, go do it, like go for your dream, like don't
Yeah.
worry, like we'll figure it out. At the same time, I still felt this like inside of myself of like, I feel like it's me. I feel like it's just me, and writing the songs and like all of these things, like though all of them may not have been specifically from my perspective, a lot of the storylines or like just the concepts behind the songs felt very personal, felt very intimate.
Yeah.
And I was like, I feel like a party of one. I feel like it's just me out here. Probably because I was self managed. I was putting together a tour by myself, until I was
Yeah.
able to get help. And I was like, this is what it is sometimes. Sometimes you may feel like it's just you, and you have to be okay with that, and like you have your community, you have your supporters. And I think that, during that time, even with therapy, like they were reminding me, like, or my therapist was like, who are your creatives? Like, what's your support, your community? And I was like, I have people, but I still feel like it's me. So
Oh,
I feel like
wow.
a lot of, that album was very much so like, how do I feel about things? And like, I was very much so in my head about a lot of things, and that was okay with me. I was like, let's just put it out there because I know I'm not the only one who feels these things.
Absolutely. And I feel like, with just the whole body of work, I feel like it's a cohesive and beautiful artwork
Thank
of
you.
music. And I feel like even though we are coming through out of COVID, I feel like people still feel like they're isolated at some times. And
Yes.
so I feel like to have Party of One to listen to is like the perfect vibe to really explain how we all kind of feel like a shell of ourselves sometimes.
Yes, I love that. And I didn't actually think about that into that way in that way until now because even when you think about like a storm, like there's still like an aftermath of it, and
Yeah.
you're trying to rebuild, and you're figuring out like where do I want to go? Do I want to stay here? Do I, if everything was destroyed, like there's a lot of things that come after the storm, and I think that Party of One was that for me. It was very much so, never enough time was in the midst of the storm. And then
Yeah.
Party of One was like, okay, how do I recollect? How do I regather and reimagine, where I'm at now? What are my thoughts now? I feel like
Yeah.
that's a lot of what the album was like.
Would you agree that you've grown as a singer-songwriter from your earlier albums like Journey to your current one, A Party of One?
Absolutely. It's crazy sometimes, like I'll listen to, Journey all the way
Yeah.
through Party of One, and I'll just be like, this is crazy. Like vocally, songwriting wise, mentally, like just some of the
Mm-hmm.
things that, I was talking about in Journey as opposed to where I'm at now, or just like, this, I think Journey just had this grind. It was this grit. It was this like,
Yeah.
this hunger. And I think never enough time was like, nah, I've done some things, like
Yeah.
I'm pushing through. I'm still facing adversity, and you'll always face adversity, but it was like I'm still making it happen. And then Party of One is like, I'm here. Like this is me, this is my voice, this is how I feel, I'm moving in confidence. I still, I'm still working through some things, but this is Somalia, and I'm very excited and looking forward to, the new stuff I'm going to be working on, because I can definitely hear the growth. I see the growth even in
Yeah.
my photos, like the cover art, everything is just like wow. So I'm like super excited to see just kind of this new phase of Somalia and where I'm going with the music.
That's beautiful because I know one of my favorite singles that you have released were was definitely Mimosas. I feel like when you dropped that, that was like the first year of the pandemic. We were in the thick of it, and it's like it was so fun, and it was like it's what we needed, and we still need that
Yes.
song, like that type of feeling. And so I was like, yeah, Mimosas is like that's the one. That's my fave.
I would definitely say Mimosa was like my like catapulted me into another
Yeah.
realm, because I think at that time, because and I'm in R&B, so there's there's trap soul, there's so many like compartments to R&B, and we're talking about influences. I grew up listening to Beyonce. I
Yeah.
grew up A Marie, like people with
Mhm.
bops. You're gonna
Yeah.
dance, you're gonna feel it, and I was like, I want to bring that back. Like I want people to feel R&B, dance, have a good time, because there's lots of things to stress about. There's so much to feel sad
It
about.
is.
I was like, let me bring some joy into this, and I feel like that always like attracts people, and it always brings people together. So Mimosa was definitely, and I needed it for myself at the time as well.
Yeah.
So it's crazy how like when you're in different spots of your life, like as a songwriter, you can write yourself through things. You can really help yourself work through these emotions and thoughts that you have. And it was like, I want to feel good on a Tuesday. I don't want to wait until a Sunday to feel like I'm at brunch or to enjoy my life. So
Exactly.
that was kind of what was behind it.
Yeah, I love it. I love the backstory to it because I was like, yeah, we all need that essence of a mimosa, no matter what day it is.
Yes, exactly. Yep.
Yeah, so do you have advice for those seeking performance opportunities in their cities? Because I'm always curious to know, like, how are you able to get the performance gigs you have done in the past? Or, like, I know you say you self manage yourself, but did you have a manager ever throughout your career, or do you feel like you needed a booking agent to help push your career a little bit more? Like, how do you feel about that?
Yes, so I haven't had a like an official manager. I was working with someone for a period of time, especially when I was going through my putting together my tour, and she was helping a lot with those things. Shout out to Amber. I love you, Amber. But I haven't had like very serious management yet. And I think that that's probably going to be the next phase. I think that a lot of people were telling me like, when you get to a point of your career where you just can't do it all, that's when it's time for a manager. And I
Yeah.
think that it is that, but it's also like managers can help take you to the next level. They're a thought partner, and they're going to be a collaborator with you in taking your career, where you want to go it, or your North Star, as I would say. So I'm definitely like in the space of looking to cultivate relationships for management.
Hmm.
But in terms of like booking gigs and things like that, like I've been very fortunate to where like again my community, Spelman, high school friends. I just
Yeah.
performed at a high school friend's wedding in Cancun. Like people, I'm
Nice.
very blessed that people have reached out and have supported my career, like and have told a friend and a friend and a friend to help, to help push me to another level. So I'm very grateful for that. But I will say that with my tour, like that was a lot of very targeted research that I had to do. And it was
Yeah.
looking at, if somebody's looking to do something like that, putting together their own tour, just like getting more gigs, look at other artists that are like similar to your sound that are
Hmm.
specifically like in your city and look where they're performing. See what, open mic nights that they're going to, or a lot of open mic nights have featured artist. So look at the other artists that are within your city that have a similar sound or audience. And then I would also say hashtags are your friend. When I was
Yeah.
putting together my tour, I was looking under, hashtag New York City artist, hashtag Nashville artist, hashtag, you know, uh, Houston artist, like whatever it was, because honest, those people are going to be the people that are going to show you the spots to go in those cities. So use the internet, social media is your
Yeah.
friend. I was hitting people through the DM. Like I had, in each city, I wanted artists in that city to open and to be a part of the shows. So I
Hmm.
was very much so in the DMs of these artists and being like, hey, I'm based in Atlanta. I'm doing my own tour. Would love for you to be a part of this. This is all the details. Like, you have to be very for sure detail oriented, but also just like open and like ready to negotiate different things with people. And
Yeah.
you're just if you're just starting out and you're like emerging like me, I think it's really important to build those relationships so that when you do come back, you know you have an audience that's there and you have other artists that can put you on other places, because that's really what it's about. To be honest, I feel like a lot of my gigs have come from another artist saying like, hey, you should check her out. Or
Ooh,
somebody came to
nice.
a show and said, this girl is really good, like she would be really great at your venue. I was surprised at some of the calls I've gotten to just be like, oh my gosh, I didn't know that person was paying
No.
attention. But people are always paying attention. So I just feel like, get in those DMs, look under the hashtags. If you are looking for management like me, like I would definitely say getting out, networking, talking to people, and just getting better at like making your needs known. I think that's
Yeah.
something that I'm working on now, even in my like entrepreneurship and my artistry, of like thinking about my network and being like, what are my asks? Because at this point, if you're at a good point in your relationship, you should be able to ask for things. So making those needs known and just doing the work.
Absolutely. And I feel like whoever your future manager is, they definitely have to match your energy times 10, because the way you've been able to advocate for yourself so beautifully, they have to do that nonstop for you. So I wish you all the
Thank
best on that
you.
search.
Yes, girl, because it's ooh, yes, it's that. Because it's like once you do it yourself, you're like, okay, I know what I do. I know how hard
Right.
I work. So I need somebody that's gonna match my fly. That's gonna help me get to the next level. So 100%.
Exactly. Do you feel like is your goal always to remain an independent artist, or do you have a dream of being signed to a record label? What are your feelings about being an independent artist?
I really enjoy being an independent artist, but I will also say that I very much so see the benefits of being on a label, or having a management company that's in conjunction with a label,
Yeah.
who can like understand me as an artist and understand like where I'm going, where I've already been. So I'm definitely not opposed to being signed. I am open to those things, if it makes sense. But I just know that, if you're coming in and you don't really have that much leverage, you don't really have I guess, the negotiating opportunities as somebody who would, who's coming
Yeah.
in with a certain amount of followers and an audience and all of these things. So I've thought about all of the different scenarios. I love being independent, but I'm not opposed to being signed. I'm very much so like whoever is going to again have the heart to be able to like put it into my career and like to see where it is that I'm trying to go, but also make it make business sense. I'm
Yeah.
I'm here for it.
Wonderful. Well, I'm so excited for your career and what not only this year but the years to come leads you as an artist. And I know, like, to wrap up the call, I always end with asking a guest two songs that best represent their personality. But for you, I
Mm.
kind of want to switch it up because you're I want to give you like your shameless plug. So if people haven't heard about your music yet, what are two songs from your catalog that you would introduce them to?
Ooh. Well, we already said Mimosa.
Yeah, okay.
100% you want to hear Mimosa and you also want to see the music video. You will not be disappointed. I promise you that. And then I would say the second song would probably be, I think I got to choose Risk It All. I feel like
Oh,
that
okay.
was, it came out on Never Enough Time. It was during the pandemic. And I think it still like cultivated that energy though of like
It
we
does.
outside. And again, just like putting your heart into it, like not being afraid to fall in love, not being afraid to tell somebody that you love them, not being afraid to dream and imagine. And I think that that's what I put into that song. So I would definitely say Mimosa and Risk It All. Both bops,
Ooh.
gonna keep you okay. And the girls have definitely been playlisting it. So shout out to everybody who's been loving
Absolutely.
Risk It All.
I'm one of the girlies on
Yes.
Tidal that have that streaming for sure. And so I would definitely add your two choices to the playlist that accompanies the podcast here. And so
Yay.
yeah, so I just want to thank you so much, Somalia, for saying yes to being a guest. We haven't met in person yet, but we've
Yeah, I
had
don't think we,
past
yeah.
conversations
Yes.
like on my friend's podcast I had back in the day. And so just throughout
Yes.
the years, like just seeing all your wins and just really just supporting from afar, I'm so glad that you're still thriving and you're just elevating every time I see something new come across all of your social media platforms. So I just really want to say thank you for saying yes.
Well, thank you for having me. Like, I want to give you your flowers because, first of all, I feel like every time I see you on social media or even like, if we're messaging or whatever, like, it's
Yeah.
always genuine, it's always real, it's
Oh,
always so down to earth. And I feel like that's very hard to find, especially in entertainment and media.
yeah.
And so I want to give you your flowers for that. And then also for just like keep going. Like, you have been
Thank
doing, like you said,
you.
you've been doing your podcast from before, and then now you're still doing it, and then you're also a publicist. Like, there's so many
Yeah.
things I feel like you're juggling. I feel like you are the essence of like what it means to be like a working entrepreneur and still having a dream and still
Oh,
like pushing it. So thank you for supporting my career. And every time that I've reached out to you, like I said, it's always been love. So that's truly appreciated because you don't find
thank
that everywhere.
you.
So
Exactly. And your spirit is just as sweet and refreshing to see as well. So I'm definitely grateful that we have crossed paths and, hopefully
yes,
like, more opportunities come both our ways and all of,
we claim
what
it.
we want. Absolutely. Absolutely. And so, yeah, so that is it with the green light. If you love today's guest and our green light combo, please tell someone, your mama, daddy, cousin, sister, brother, auntie, uncle, about the show and be on the lookout for the next episode.